Are you looking for a new business idea? Maybe a new revenue stream is appealing. Or are you searching for a cheeky little side hustle? One with minimal setup costs and that requires you to hold no stock. If you answered a hell yeah, then drop everything, as you're about to discover the ins and outs of dropshipping with one of Australia's best. It's a ship hot episode 606, see what I did there, of the 13-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of mind-expanding marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. How? Through weekly, in-depth conversations with successful business founders who have walked this path before. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire that it absolutely deserves to be. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Quick update. Thank you to all those who bought my book, The Boomerang Effect. It is no longer, well, I'm looking at 10 copies on my shelf here, and it won't be reprinted, I'm sorry to say. I will continue to talk about helpful marketing ad nauseum, so don't worry about that. If you do want a copy, you might get one of these 10 by the time this episode goes to air, so you can head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com to find out. I'm off to Cairns to MC a 5-day conference next week. Upon my return, I'm going to run a couple of webinars for you, one on customer attraction with John Dwyer, past guest John Dwyer, very popular fellow. He's from the Institute of Wow, and he's just a master at customer attraction ideas. And another one on high converting websites with our in-house, well, he's not in-house, but resident high converting website specialist, Greg Merrilees of Studio One Designs. Be the first to know about both those webinars by joining my email list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Then I've got your name and email address and I can spam you the hell out of you. That's not true. I won't do that. If you receive an email from me, trust me, there is value, marketing value, business value, a little bit of GOLD inside of it.
Hi, Timbo. It's Steve Davis here. I run, talked about marketing here in Adelaide, but I also am a fellow podcaster. I do the Adelaide Show podcast, and we picked up silver for best interview podcast in Australia last year. But I've got to say, I have been a listener to your podcast almost from the beginning. I love it. It's always giving me inspirational things. And I put links to you in the blog posts I write because I want to share the GOLD that you share. Well, I almost fell off my chair recently, episode 586. You interviewed Murray Morgan from the School of Hard Knock Knocks. I've worked with Murray and running the Adelaide school for him, and I was on that video. Is this thing on? So you would have seen me in the nude, Timbo. Sorry about that. But you really got out of Murray some great insights about learning stand-up comedy from a business perspective, because it's about what you leave out of a sentence. It's about where you land the thing you're trying to share to bring it home with power and keep people interested. Anyway, as always, you've just got this knack of seasoning what people are sharing to bring the good stuff out. Now, one quick aside. I have taken my comedy to a different level and created a couple of characters. One is Professor Sebastian Longsword, who runs the MBA School of MBA Credentials. Did a whole fringe show, had a lot of fun, thing called a lunchtime MBA. People came for lunch, had a wine, and they left with an MBA. It was a hoot. But he's on sabbatical at the moment because there's a new character about to launch doing a keynote up at a national conference in Port Douglas in June. And you won't believe it, he's actually based on you. I thought I'd better share this with you now, because if you're going to sue me, I figure the quicker you can find me, then it's the less legal fees for all of us. I'll let you know how it goes, and we might cross paths at some point. But please keep up the great work. this podcast is an inspiration to all of us. Cheers.
Steve. First of all, brother, apologies up front. You left that message in May and it's now September, and I feel incredibly guilty for not having listened to it, given the fact that you have based a character on me. Oh, I don't even know what that means. Anyway, my lawyers will be in touch, Steve. Loyals? My lawyers. No, they won't. But a character on me, what's it look like? Shrek? I'll need to find out more. I've got your number, Steve. I think I'm going to give you a ring. Hey, everyone else, be like Steve and call me on 0480 015 150 and let me know something creative that you're working on. Hopefully you are. You know, as business owners, we get sort of trapped inside the business and don't get time to be creative. But be like Steve and get creative. You'll also find that number on every page over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Give me a buzz. Righto, I'm excited about today's topic and guest for two main reasons. Life's getting expensive and we're all looking for ways to make it extra quid, right? Dropshipping can produce that with minimal outlay. Sounds too good to be true. I get that, but stick with me and this interview will reveal a lot. My guest has mastered the art and science of dropshipping and as a result lives a very envious lifestyle by the beach, actually just down the road from me. Absolute coincidence that. In simple terms, dropshipping is selling other people's physical products online, and John Warren is one of Australia's dropshipping specialists. In 2014, check this out, he launched his first dropshipping business, which grew to 7 figures in 24 months whilst he was still working for the man. Oh, nice. He sold it 3 years later, having produced $4 million in revenue at a very healthy 20% margin. And since then, he's launched 3 more dropshipping businesses, all of which have reached 7-figure annual revenue with also super healthy margins. John now shows peeps like you and I how to do it with his online course over at Dropship Breakthrough. That's thru.com/Timbo. I'd write that down. I wouldn't even take offense if you visited that link right now, Dropship Breakthrough, thru.com/Timbo, because he makes a really, really good offer exclusively to small business, big marketing listeners with a bunch of bonuses. And you may well be on your way to a nice new little business. But if you don't want to do that, have a listen to what he's got to say because it's time to get excited. Here's John providing us a deeper explanation of the dropshipping business model and why it's so good.
So dropshipping is basically a method of e-commerce fulfillment. So it's an e-commerce business. Like a traditional e-commerce business, you operate a website, you do marketing, you do customer service, you sell physical products. The difference being that when somebody buys a product from your website, instead of it shipping from a warehouse that you own or control, it ships directly from the brand who manufactures that product to the customer. So when you're drop shipping, you're not holding any physical stock, at least not in the beginning of your own. And so you're selling, at least in the way that I do drop shipping, you're selling products from multiple brands and you're shipping directly from those brands to the customer. So from those brands' warehouse to the customer.
You're doing everything a normal business would do except manufacturing product.
Exactly.
So how does it differ from affiliate marketing where you are, affiliate marketers do the same thing? What's the difference?
Look, there are some definite similarities with affiliate marketing for sure. The difference being here is, or one of the main differences is that you are handling the payment side of things. So with an affiliate, you're obviously promoting the product, but then you're sending the customer to a different page to check out, whether that's Amazon or a brand's website or something. Here, you're operating a full website, including the payment, the checkout, and you manage all of that. The money goes directly to your bank account, and then you pay your supplier when you're going to ship the product.
You've had some great success with dropshipping, John, and we'll talk about that shortly. But why did you go down the dropshipping route versus affiliate?
Well, I did look at both in the beginning. So I started about 8 years ago, and I actually did look at both in the beginning. I think for me, I did like the idea of being a bit more like you're a bit more you're not in as much control of things as if you manage your own inventory, but you're more in control of the offer than you are when you're doing affiliate marketing. So when you're affiliate marketing, like offers can disappear, they can dry up at the blink of a hat sort of thing. And you're And so I kind of gravitated a bit more towards the idea of if you do dropshipping the right way, you're still building a brand. And what you can do after you've been doing the dropshipping for a while is you can actually start introducing your own products, right? You can start branding up your own products and get your own products manufactured and kind of leverage that success with dropshipping into an actual brand, which obviously becomes a more valuable asset. And you can take that in a whole bunch of different ways.
John, we can look at this from a number of ways, and my audience is quite broad, although essentially they're all business owners. They're all small to medium business owners. Some are in startup mode, some are established, some are students, and some are cubicle escapees waiting to stop working for the man and create their own side hustle. So how should we look at drop shipping for the sake of this chat? Maybe it's all three, but is it a good side hustle? We're all looking for extra income, particularly as the cost of living goes bananas. Is it a good additional revenue stream to add to an established business? Is it a part-time job? How should we look at it?
I think you can look at it in a number of those ways. So it absolutely is a great side hustle. I know quite a few people who work a day job that they love and they actually don't want to get out of because they're very well compensated for what they do, and it's in an area they're passionate about, but they do want to add something else, and so they actually run one of these businesses, on the side, around some sort of employment. It absolutely is a fantastic way for anybody who's looking to jump into the business world, into online business, to get started, because in the beginning, it is a very low risk business model, right? It doesn't require a massive injection of capital to get it up and running and start making some sales. And well, I said you can leverage it into other business types, into carrying your own products and all of that sort of thing. You learn a lot while you're doing it. So in a sense, you're kind of getting paid to learn because you're selling some products, you're making some profit while you're learning how to run a website, how to build a website, how to do online marketing, how to do customer service properly. You learn all of these things as you build one of these businesses. So it's a great way for people to dip their toes into the business world. And if they're looking to get out of the cubicle world, right? As you said.
Is it just me? And I always love to reveal the elephant in the room, John. Because you teach dropshipping, and we'll talk about this course that you have, which is absolutely fantastic and one that I've done. But do you come across a lot of skeptics? I certainly, affiliate marketing, sometimes you feel like you need to wash your mouth out after you say that word. Maybe not so much these days, but still a little bit. Have you come across a lot of skeptics when it comes to dropshipping? Because there's a little part of me that goes, and as we work through this, and you're going to explain how it works and how we can bring a dropshipping business to life, there's a little part of me that goes, this is too good to be true.
Absolutely. And you'll have people who are listening into this right now who hear the word dropshipping and cringe
Timbo's got a snake oil salesman on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm all for that skepticism, right? Because particularly in recent years, so in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, there's the way that a lot of people have been introduced to the idea of dropshipping, which was heavily pumped online and in social media by, the usual gurus in the business world. Was a really poor way to do dropshipping. It's commonly known as AliExpress dropshipping, which is very different to how I do dropshipping. The way I've done it, people have been doing it for about at least 20 years. So I know people who have been doing it for 20 years. It's been sort of around almost as long as e-commerce has. And it's very different to that method that's been popularized in recent years. And I'll be completely honest, I wouldn't touch that stuff with a stick, like with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't go near that low-ticket AliExpress type dropshipping. It's a terrible business model. Absolutely.
So what you're saying is AliExpress website full of shit, full of crap, full of landfill. Hello to everyone at AliExpress. But I'm sure there's good stuff there as well. But from a dropshipping point of view, low value items, small margin. Sounds like you're really going to have to roll the sleeves up and create a lot of traffic in order to get the volume. And hey, not impossible. And welcome to business. It's always a challenge. But yeah, your approach is different. And okay, so what you're saying is the skeptics have come from those days when, and I've been looking at some other stuff online too. And there is always an element of skepticism. So mate, that's good. I mean, thank you for acknowledging that, because it's nice to get the elephant clearly identified in the room so we can move on with an open mind.
And look, the other thing I'll say, is people get skeptical because there's a low barrier to entry from a financial perspective, right? And so they're like, right, so I don't have to inject a lot of money and I'm going to make money. That sounds too good to be true. The thing that people, and it's a very simple business model, right? Like just at its basic level, it's a simple business model. And people then, in a misguided way, equate simple to easy. And the thing I'll say is, yeah, you're not going to put in much money in the beginning to get something up and off the ground, but you are going to do some hard work, right? It's still a real business. You've got a lot of work to do. You've got a lot to learn. So it's not easy. No business is easy, right? As I'm sure many of your listeners know.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, and I think that's what we've always got to remember when we hear about these things, these opportunities, whether it be dropshipping, affiliate marketing, whatever it is, starting a podcast, any of this online stuff. There are far too many, and I'm using air quotes here, gurus out there that make it sound awesomely simple, and you're going to get rich real quick. And unfortunately, that stuff still exists. I reckon we as a general kind of bunch of entrepreneurs see through it, but still people get sucked in. And, there is a level of desperation entering people's mindsets right now in late 2022 as things do become more expensive. So, yeah, good to go through. And the reality is, as you say, you still got to do the hard yards. I'm looking at the modules in your course. You got to go through finding your market, building your website, securing suppliers, launching your business, running your business. And with all of those modules, there's a whole lot of things to do. What I love about that, John, and again, we're going to talk in some more detail about that later, but it's like whether you're wanting to start a dropshipping course or whether you just want to get better at the way you run your own business, some of the stuff that you need to go through, probably many established business owners haven't been through it. Finding your market, understanding your market, really understanding your market, and you've got some great things to do in regards to that. Tell me, John, just finishing the elephant in the room subject, why wouldn't people go and buy directly from the brand? Or if they don't go direct and buy whatever it is directly from the brand, why not go to Amazon? Because generally, and I hate saying that because here I am representing small business owners, but it's the reality. So why am I going to go to the third option and buy from a dropshipper? Even though I know I don't even know what a dropshipper is if I'm just a consumer.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing to say. I mean, you wouldn't know as the customer if it's a good business, a good dropshipping business. You wouldn't know that you're buying from somebody who's dropshipping. They're not going to say on the front page, "This is a dropshipping website." From an experience perspective, you shouldn't notice any difference, to be honest, if they're doing a good job. The way that we do dropshipping, we call it high-ticket dropshipping. So we're selling more expensive products, which makes sense on a number of levels when you're dropshipping. Actually, most products in this sort of category are not sold direct to consumer. They've traditionally been sold through physical retail stores and often sort of those kind of bigger box stores, maybe like your Harvey Normans or that sort of thing. And so a lot of the manufacturers and suppliers that we work with don't sell direct to the public. That's not their business model. They're in the product space. They've developed their product and their business is built around distributing that through a network of retailers, right? Retailers, whether it's physical or online, and they're happy with that. They don't want to do the customer service and all of that sort of thing. That's not their business. Similarly, a lot of these products you can't buy on Amazon. Obviously, in Australia, Amazon hasn't been around as long as it has in the US, but even in the US, where we work with a lot of people in the US market, a lot of high-ticket brands have specific policies saying their products can't be sold on Amazon. They don't want to be there. And so you can't buy them there. I mean, Amazon does sell literally nearly everything under the sun, but there are a lot of brands and things that they don't sell. The e-commerce world is still, while Amazon makes up a lot of it, there's still a lot out there that's not on Amazon, like a lot.
So does that therefore mean, if we come back to starting a dropshipping business, the brand is really important?
Yeah, it is.
Building a brand, building an emotional attachment between you and those who may buy from you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and once again, this comes back to doing dropshipping the right way or the wrong way. And there's a right way and a wrong way. The wrong way is, as we mentioned earlier, it's selling low quality products with long shipping times in these really fast turn and burn type websites. Our approach is a much more long-term approach. We're actually looking at building a brand and having a real deep connection with customers, taking them on a journey and serving them for years, right? And we've got people in our student group who have been running the same business for 7, 8, 9 years, right? The same dropshipping website, the same business, and so it's definitely you're building a long-term asset if you do it right.
Johnny, let's get me and my listening audience excited. You talked about your student group, but let's start with you, the master dropshipper. There's a couple of case studies would be really interesting, and we must remind ourselves. I mean, I'm speaking to you because I interviewed John Murphy a number of weeks ago from eBike Generation, who I think is a student of yours, right? And I still laugh at that because here's an Italian fella living in Italy, selling e-bikes to hunters, and he's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Hey, isn't that just tremendous?
It is.
Start any business you like.
That's absolutely right. I think John's a great example. He's a good friend as well, and has some really interesting things to teach people in the SEO world.
Well, he sure has, and his course, I've done his course as well. Absolutely awesome, because he got spanked from Facebook and
Google Ads.
Google Ads. Yeah. So he all of a sudden had to figure out how to get free traffic, and that course is awesome.
And he did it.
Yes, he did. I'll put a link in the show notes to this episode as well. So let's go through your experience, John. What was happening in your life 8 years ago that led you to start a dropshipping business? Like what did you decide to sell and why? And you got to $1 million a month with 15% net profit. I mean, this is a good business. You'd be lying on the hammock at some point with the MacBook, wouldn't you?
If you wanted to, you could. If you are, that's absolutely not the way I sell it, because it's not the reality in the beginning at all. There was many, many late nights and long hours to build these businesses that I've built over the last 8 years. But, if you play your cards right and you set up a team and you get a good manager in for you, it can turn into a business where you have a bit more distance from. Absolutely. That is possible. And once again, John Murphy, the guy you mentioned, he's like that. I think he spends something like 10 hours a week on his business. It's a multiple 7-figure a year business. So, that's really great. But look, my experience, before I got into this, I was in the corporate world. So I was in the HR and industrial relations space, working 50, yeah, absolutely. 100%, Tim, working, 50, 60 hours a week, commuting 3 hours a day, traveling interstate every other day. And I'd been doing that for a decade. The money was good, don't get me wrong. I was, 6-figure salary, all that sort of thing. Just living just outside of Sydney at the time. But I absolutely hated it. The thought at that time I was in my early 30s, and the thought of doing that till I was, it's now 70s, the retirement age in Australia, isn't it?
Yes.
The thought of that for another 40 years, literally, made me want to jump off a building. And I don't mean that in any ways as a criticism of anybody who loves doing that. But for me, the thought of that, never seeing my kids, having no control over my time. So that was the big thing for me. It wasn't so much a financial thing. The reason why I wanted to jump out of that, it was more a time thing. I had no control over my time. I didn't have time to do the things I wanted to do with my life. I had one child at that time. I've got 4 now. I had one child at that time. I probably saw him for like an hour a day or less, and then he'd be asleep, sort of thing. And
we've all been there, buddy. So what did you do? What did that first year look like when you're going, okay, enough's enough. I can't jump ship, but I can drop ship. What did you do, John? And that tell us about the first, how do you get going? That first 6 months, you didn't know what you know. You didn't know what you knew. You don't know what you knew then now. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do. Look, I'd come across, I think I was traveling somewhere, and I'd come across some guys that were doing this. There were some of the sort of early kind of pioneers in the dropshipping space, and I'd just bumped into them at a bar or something, I think, and I'd been having a chat to them, and they were kind of explaining what they did and their business model and that sort of thing. I thought, that sounds kind of interesting, because the thought was in my head that I need to find something else to do. I need to get out of this, and what's going to be the vehicle to help me do that? And so I just came across this randomly, and it kind of stuck with me. And I think over the course of a few months, I started investigating, like just Googling, like, how does this work? What does it look like? How does it actually work? And so at some point, I decided to jump into it. I think I bought a very short and basic video course on how to do it from somebody. I think it was about 12 videos at the time, or it was very small, but it was enough to get going. And so I literally started my first website while I was still working full time. So this is where the hard work came in. I was doing this in the evening until 1 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to work sort of thing. And I did that for a few months to get it off the ground and start making some sales.
What did you know? Is it something the blokes at the bar told you? But what did you know? Because I've been down this rabbit hole before where I'm going to start a little business over here, and you start doing all the fun stuff, and it is fun. And you look at it's 11 o'clock at night, and you're designing a little logo for a new website, and setting up your socials. Then the little bloke on the shoulder goes, "Hang on, Timo, you are kidding yourself, aren't you? You're putting in all this effort. What do you get? What are you expecting? What did you know that allowed you to keep going and build that, what ended up being a very successful business?"
Well, I didn't know a lot of things in the beginning. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasted a lot of money on marketing efforts and things that didn't work. But look, the thing that pushed me through to it was that I kind of just said to myself, like, just staying with the status quo is not an option, right? Like, I can't handle that thought. Like, I literally could not handle the thought of that. And so I just thought, you just have to do something until it works. And you don't have a choice. You just got to make it work. That's your only option. That's kind of what my internal self-talk was at that time. And I think as well, it was kind of the thing that the first time that I'd said that. I think when I was younger, I used to dabble in a lot of things, but kind of quit out of them or not really put in the required effort. But this was kind of, I think, the first thing that I really said, you just got to do it, mate, and don't quit out. It doesn't matter what challenges you run across, just find a way. There are still a lot of challenges at that time because I didn't really have anyone or many people to kind of learn it from or model off, or I didn't know anything about mentoring or how to find somebody to like bounce my ideas off.
Can you share what your first product was?
Yeah, absolutely. I can even share my first website. It's actually still live. I sold it in this one in 2017. But my very first website is called chicchandeliers.com.au, right? I'll just check it's still there. I'm just going to preface this by saying somebody's owned it for a number of years, so I take no responsibility for what's on it now.
Chandeliers. Jeez, mate, you're not going to believe it. I have been looking for a chic chandelier for so long, and all of a sudden I find the bloke who started the website.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet that these guys left my face on the About Us page. Let's see. Yeah, it's still there when I had long hair, like longer hair.
Gold.
There you go. So if you go to that website, that's an example of a high-ticket dropshipping website. That was my website. That's the one I started. Now, way back then.
You do go through this in the course. And by the way, if you go to Dropship Breakthrough, that's thru.com/Timbo, John has made the most generous exclusive offer where he'll give you $300 off it plus 6 months access to his elite membership group, which is worth $97 a month. So thanks for that, Johnny. Now, one of the modules, and it's very relevant to what we're talking about, is finding your market. And in fact, finding your product, finding your market, finding your product. And you have this wonderful, simple spreadsheet that takes you through it. You're big on high ticket items, greater margin, lesser volumes. It's all good. What is the trick? I mean, you don't look like a chandelier kind of bloke to me, John. What's the trick to finding the ideal product for you to drop ship?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's probably two ways of going after it. Some people come into this and they already have something that they're passionate about, and it happens to include those more expensive products, right? So, that might be somebody who's into golf and they want to sell golf simulators that people use at home, right? So straight away they kind of have that product in their mind, and the product or the niche or the market, as we call it, we have a set of criteria that you got to tick the boxes on this criteria. So it's like, how much competition is there? How many suppliers for the product can you find? Is it an enthusiast market, we call it? So, is there an identifiable ideal customer? So that's one way. A lot of people come into that, and this was me, who in the beginning I was like, I don't really have anything I'm personally interested in that ticks all of those boxes. So it's just about going through a brainstorming and research process to come up with ideas of all the things that people are passionate about. And you can literally do this with Google and going to a news agency, a library. There's lots of ways you can do it. and just building a list of products, seeing which ones tick the boxes, and just picking the one that ticks the boxes the best, and getting started with that. You don't have to have your own personal interest in it. It does make it a little bit easier if you do.
I would have thought so. It's always an interesting conundrum for me. Like, I've interviewed most recently Dare Jennings, who started Mambo and Deus Ex Machina. Now, Dare loves motorbikes. He loves surfing. He loves everything about the two brands that he's created. He loves. I've also interviewed Tom Griffiths from Emma and Tom's Juices. Tom doesn't care too much for juice. He loves business. Yeah, but they're both super successful people. I would be on I'd tend to agree with what you said, which is it certainly would help if you had an interest in the product that you sell. Because, I mean, even just the content creation and marketing side of things alone is going to be a lot more fun.
And you're going to, in the beginning, you're going to do your own customer service too. So you're going to talk to your customers, right? So this makes it a little bit easier to have some sort of rapport with them when they call up and they're interested in golfing products and you're a golfer, right? Automatically, you gel a bit quicker. But it's absolutely still doable, even if you don't have that. I'm like the juice guy. I love business. I don't really care what I sell. If it's a good product, I can sell it, and I will sell it.
See, I find that really interesting. I'd be on the other side. I couldn't just sell anything. I guess because I get excited. The thing that excites me about business is the marketing side of things, and from a marketing side of things, I love creating helpful content, and you can do that if you know the product. Just going back to that idea, because you talk about customer service and taking calls from in the early days when you don't have a customer support team, like a couple of VAs in the Philippines or whatever it may be, you are doing it all yourself. Let's say you're a golfer. Let's say you decide to start a dropshipping business, dropshipping golf simulating machines, of which you know nothing about. Just because you're a golfer doesn't mean you know the technical ins and outs of a golf simulating machine. So when a customer calls you, what do you do when they say, going to do this, or that? I mean, is it just negligent to not know? Or do you just put your hands in there and go, listen, I don't know everything, but I can put you in touch with the manufacturer? What do you do?
No, you wouldn't do that. The manufacturer doesn't want to talk to your customers directly because that's not their business, right? That's not why they're in an arrangement with you. You're supposed to take that on. Look, there's a couple of things to say. The great thing about high-ticket products is that because they're more expensive and higher quality, they often have great documentation with them, right? So you can learn a lot about your products fairly easily. You're going to upload a lot of the product data onto your website in the beginning. Once again, down the track, you get team members to do that for you. But in the beginning, you're going to do it yourself. So you're going to see a lot of that stuff. And you're going to be learning while you build your website out, while you get those supplier relationships. But at the end of the day, if somebody calls up and they're like got a technical question, like if it's a product that's a bit more like obviously the lights that I sold on my first site, not technical products, right? It turns on, it turns off, right? It turns on, it turns off. You might get some questions about what it's made from and that sort of thing, but they're fairly simple questions. But like for a golfing simulator, you might get more technical questions. It's just a simple matter of saying, look, I'm going to go and research that answer for you right now. I'm going to go and consult the manual for the product just to make sure I get the right answer. What you'll do is you'll go and either look at the manual or you'll call up your supplier and ask them the technical question, and they will help you personally as their authorized reseller. They don't want to talk to your customer directly, but they're more than happy to talk to you and help you sell their products. It's in their interest to help you, right?
And a little marketing hack here, as you do that, whether you are a drop shipper or just a business owner listening and fielding calls from customers, which we all do, capture that question and go and create a video or a piece of audio or a little blog post or all three and put that knowledge center on your website, because it's such a marketing asset down the track. It's great for SEO. It's great to be able to say to the customer, hey, listen, I'll answer your question now, but afterwards, can I email you a video that goes into even greater detail? I think you're a legend. So much just common business sense, really, when we start to talk about dropshipping, isn't it? Tell me, are you best to focus on just one type of product, for example, e-bikes, or to focus on a theme, for example, cycling, or like John Murphy did, even drill down to e-bikes for hunters?
You can go a number of ways there, all of which can work. I tend to go with you should sell whatever serves your customer, right? That fits the high ticket dropshipping boxes. Okay, so if your customer to do the thing that they love doing needs 3 different types of products, then you're going to sell 3 different types of products, and you're going to try and sell all of the brands of those types of products on your site, right? If they only need 1, then it would only be 1. If they need 5, then it would be 5. So in a sense, we're kind of defined by our ideal customer in terms of what we sell, because we want to have everything that they would want to fulfill whatever their interest is, or their passion, or their hobby, or the thing that they're looking to achieve. That's the answer.
The students of your course, are you finding them really niching down like John Murphy did, e-bikes for hunters? Or you got a real mix where you've got some who are specialising quite broadly in one category?
I think so we get 2 types of people come into our program. Some already have a dropshipping business that they're looking to grow further, so they come to learn the marketing piece from us. And they'll often come with a more broad store because that's what they've learnt elsewhere. We tend to steer people more towards John Murphy's style of things, like having that really specific ideal customer in mind, like the hunter who, wants to use an e-bike or something like that. And there's so many different variations of that. But that's where if somebody's starting from scratch with us, we direct them more in that sort of way of thinking. But if somebody had a good idea that was a bit broader, then we would look at that and say, yep, that's a good idea. So with all of our students, we do a market verification with them. So they come up with their idea and we go and check their research and make sure they've got it right before they even start their business. So we do that for everyone. Sometimes we tell people, no, that's not a great idea. You need to come up with something else.
Excuse the naivety of this question, John, but if someone's listening going, oh, Jim, I'm going to start a dropshipping business, tomorrow, when could you expect your first sale? Ridiculous question, Tim, but you know what I mean. Like, is it you might get one, you might put a landing page up tomorrow and get a sale, or you might, it might be 6 months down the track until you get your first one, and then you don't get your second one for another 3 months. Is it, welcome to business. Have a nice day.
I'll tell you what we see on average, and then I'll tell you what my experience was with my first business. So we say you can start one of these businesses in 30 days. So from nothing to launching your business is doable in 30 days. Some people might do it a little quicker. Some people might do it a little slower, but because it's all based on what time you've got available to do it, right? Most people, once you launch your business, will see sales in the first 2 weeks. Once again, there's a little variation around that, but that's sort of what you'll see. Some people will make a sale the first day they start their marketing. Some people it'll take 5 days. Some people it'll take 3 days. For me, I got my first sale 10 days after I launched my site. Then the first few months, as you mentioned, they can be a bit inconsistent. Like you'll get 2 sales one day, nothing the next, or the next, and then 1 sale, and then nothing, and then 3. And so it can be really kind of choppy. And I think that's the case in any business, right?
Do you remember with sheer chandeliers, or maybe just reference another one of your drop shipping sites, but can you remember what's the big lever that you pull historically that's given you a real hockey stick inflection of sales, or at least inquiry? Was it a marketing lever, pricing? Was it just a moment in time because it was a trend?
Yeah, I think there's certainly time in the market does give you an additional kick, but certainly things that I've noticed. One, so when people start, we primarily start with paid advertising, which is great up until a point, right? It has a cap. You can only do so much paid advertising before you're spending too much for your profit to sustain, right? So it's a quick way to get started, but it plateaus out. When you start layering in organic traffic sources into that, so SEO, and there's a few other things you can do, and they start kicking in, because as you know, SEO takes a bit longer to build up, but once that really kicks in, it just starts to boom, right? It really takes off then. And we teach that in the program, right? So,
and that whole SEO thing, and we won't go down that rabbit hole, but last week's episode, fellow Tom Willis, he is the co-founder of LawPath, the biggest online law platform in Australia. He's done a lot of work around SEO and paid advertising as well, but he wrote one blog post, which was, can you drive barefoot in Australia? And It's just one of those little anomalies, but that blog post, for some reason, has generated so much free traffic to his website and so much conversion. In fact, I tested it and did Google it, and yeah, it was on number one, page one organically. So it is amazing how those little levers can have such a big impact.
I mean, on the US market, I mean, we've had content pages that generate 50,000 hits a month. Now, to get that through paid traffic, that's $50,000 a month, right, in spend. You know, so there's a little bit of investment to get that page to rank at that point, but then with a little bit of maintenance, it's just going to sit there and you're not spending more money on it. So, I mean, that's what I mean.
I'm going to go down that SEO rabbit hole because it really is important for every business listening to do some. What's your view on, like, let's talk about that article. You know, a simple blog post. It might have some words, might have a video. It's answering one specific question. You're advanced, and I imagine you go down, or your team goes down a path of completing all the metadata and doing ticking all the boxes that, you know, really optimizes that blog post to get it onto page one of Google as quickly as possible. But are you also comfortable with your students? Hey, just write the bloody blog post and get it out there. Don't worry about all the other technical stuff that you could be doing around it.
Yes, definitely. I want people to get, just do it. But if you look at the top, I mean, Google obviously doesn't publish all of their ranking signals, but we know within a pretty good degree what the top three are. The top one is high quality content. The second one is links pointing to your website. And the third one is that your page is optimized for their rank brain algorithm, right? Now that's been more or less confirmed by various Google people. So get a high quality piece of content and get it online so Google can start looking at it. Because the sooner you get it there, the sooner they can index it. And then you can work on a lot of those other pieces once it's online. You can start building some links into it. You can start, doing the more finer detail optimizations and internal linking to that page and all of that sort of stuff. Once it's live, you don't have to do all of that. Obviously, you can't build any links to it before it's live anyway. But But for me, I don't want to see people putting up low quality content. Because Google is going to have a first look at that, and if it has its first look at it and it doesn't add any value to the internet, Google has now trillions of web pages to serve up. They're not going to serve them all up because, you know, if you're just repetitive or too much of a surface wash of whatever the topic is, then you're just at this point in time in 2022, you're not even going to enter the picture to begin with.
Johnny, I want to talk about finding resellers and how much they pay you. But just a reminder to those listening, Dropship Breakthrough, THRU.com/Timbo. And Johnny's very kindly offered $300 off his dropshipping program course, plus 6 months free access to his Leap membership group, which is normally $97 a month. So it's pretty bloody good. I've got the course in front of me. I've done it. It really is excellent, John. You've put it together. What is it? There's 6 modules with something like 68 videos, but each one is very specific and goes through it in brilliant detail. Johnny, so picking how do I, let's say, I don't know, I'm just going to pick cordless vacuums. I'm going to start drop shipping cordless vacuums. How do I then identify manufacturers who are happy to work with resellers, and how do I approach them? What's the conversation look like? How much are they going to pay me? You know, can I trust them? So many questions, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step, is to find the names, find the places. So you're going to head onto Google and just perform Google searches like in this: cordless vacuum manufacturers, cordless vacuum brands, cordless vacuum suppliers, cordless vacuum importers, cordless vacuum distributors. Those are all search terms that will pull you up companies who, you know, sell those sort of products. Then you'll go and look at other websites that sell those types of products, and like similar to yours, sort of category websites, and see what brands do they sell. You could go down to your local department store if they sell those types of products. Like, so cordless vacuums, go down to Harvey Norman. What brands do they have, right? And then from there, you'll go find their website. So we just put this into a spreadsheet. You've got the brand name, go find their website, find their contact details, phone number, email. A lot of them will have like a dealer application form on their website.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's often the case.
Do a lot of them have, if I scroll down to the bottom into the footer, where often a lot of information that isn't, in the nav bar, is there going to be can I expect to see a reseller button or a...
There might be, yep. That's not unusual to see that. And if you see that, obviously, you can click through on that and follow whatever steps they want you to follow. But if all else fails, you've got a phone number, pick up the phone and make a call. Now, the little trick that we do before we call suppliers is we build our website before that. So we set up, not the full thing, but we set up something that's fairly close on Shopify first. When you call, you don't just look like somebody who's just got out of bed in the morning and gone, oh, I think I might like to start a business, right? You've put a little bit of work in. They can see you've put a little bit of work in. They can see how their products are going to be presented on your website because you'll have some demo products on there. And once again, we take you through how to do all that in our program. But you're going to call them up and you're going to have a fairly simple conversation with them about becoming an authorized reseller of their products. You can show them your website. You can tell them how you're going to do a bit of what sort of marketing you're going to do and how you're going to sell their products. And then it's just as simple as, are you good? Are you good to do that? And then it becomes a conversation around yes, no, why not, all that sort of stuff. And at that point, they'll probably usually send you a dealer application form. You fill that in, and then they'll send you, once you're approved, like all of the product images, the product technical data, pricing, how to order them, all of that sort of information. In terms of what they're going to pay you, the sort of average margin we see with high ticket products is 30%. So that's your gross margin, so 30%. But it may range up to 50 or 60% on the upper end, and it may be a little lower, like 25%. So you do see a bit of variation there, but the average would be 30%. And so if you were selling a $10 product, 30% isn't much. If you're selling a $3,000 product, 30% is a lot of profit to play around with to sell that product, right? So if you're selling a $3,000 product, it might cost you $100 in marketing spend to sell that. The rest is going into your business and or into your pocket.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. So then from a pricing point of view, John, are some manufacturers going to be very strict about their pricing and say you must sell for this? You can't influence the pricing, and are there others where you can discount or you can add more with some bonuses if you only buy through the dropshipper?
It will depend a little bit on which country you're based in. So I'm sure you have listeners around the world, but if you're in the US, they have what's called MAP pricing, which is minimum advertised price, which is legal in the US. So the supplier can say you cannot sell below this price. So they establish the ground, which is nice because they'll usually establish it with a bit of profit for you, right? And nobody can go below that. So you're not competing on price. You're competing on how good a job you do with the rest of your business, your customer service, your marketing, which are all things that you can win at, right? To me, competing on price is a fairly lazy thing to do, personally.
Well, it's dead-end street too.
And it's a dead-end street, right? In Australia, for example, though, it's a little bit different because that's technically not legal to set a hard minimum price, right? The ACCC doesn't like that. So in Australia, we have recommended retail prices, or RRP. So a lot of suppliers will give you an RRP, but they can't legally say you can't sell below that. But, and I'll say it here, the reality is if you do sell below that, you might just get cut off and they won't tell you why.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, not a good idea.
But some suppliers in Australia won't have that. And so you can compete on price. You can go as low as you want if that's what you want to do. And I don't recommend it, of course, but there are idiots out there who dump the prices on products and like to make 5% every sale, and good luck to those people. As you say, I think that's a fairly dead-end street.
One of the things affiliate marketers do very well is add additional bonuses so that it becomes exclusive. Can the dropshipper do the same thing? And what kind of bonuses could you provide?
Absolutely. There's actually quite a few things you could do. A very common one is to provide accessory products for free along with the main product. So like create a bundle of products, if you like, but sell it at that retail price. So like buy this and we're going to give you these. There'll be lower ticket products for free. So let's say, once again, using my example, I sell something for $3,000. I've got $1,000 profit out of that. I'm going to take out a little bit for marketing to sell the product. And then I might spend another 150 to add some additional products in that the customer doesn't pay for, right? Like supporting products that go along. So a lot of expensive products, they'll have like accessories. You can like think about an iPhone, right? You could have headphones. You could have, you know, a phone case. You could have, you know, a screen protector. You know, you can put stuff with it, right?
So you go to AliExpress and buy a whole lot of this cheap stuff and then just create little bundles.
Actually, a lot of the suppliers of the main product will have accessories. So you get them from the same supplier, but you're just including them at no cost to the customer. So that's a really easy way to do it. I've seen people do things like, you know, and I kind of like this one, they've licensed an online course from somebody that is in that interest area that your business is in, and they get a free membership to this course when they buy a product. So they've worked with another business. And this is a great thing. You can start up if you're in like an enthusiast market, there will be other businesses out there who serve that market, but not by selling physical products. They might provide a service or information or education, and you can partner with them and say, when somebody buys our product, we're going to send them to you for whatever it is you do, but you need to give us a cut on that or some sort of benefit that we can pass on for passing them on to you. And you can use that in your marketing alongside, you know, as an added value to the main product you're selling. There's lots of possibilities there. There's so many.
One of the gaps I'm thinking in dropshipping, I'm big on customer experience, and I'm sure you are too, John, not just customer service, but that whole, you know, from start to finish experience for the customer. One big gap for a dropshipper is that once the product is bought from the dropshipper's website to it being delivered to the customer, me, the dropshipper, I have got no control. You know, I can't put the jelly beans in the bag. I can't wrap it up beautifully. I mean, I'm at total mercy of the manufacturer. Is that clearly not a problem?
No, I mean, sometimes it is. I mean, you do occasionally, and this is definitely, I'm quite open about this. This is one of the downsides of dropshipping, right? To me, it's offset by the fact that you didn't spend $100,000 to get the business up and running with your own product and your own packaging so you can put the jelly beans in it. It is one of the downsides is what you're giving up here for having that low entry cost is you are giving up some control. But when you're doing high ticket dropshipping, like I said, you're working with high quality products. They're going to come in great packaging. They're sold by very professional companies that have usually been on the market for many years in their niches. Sometimes you might work with companies that have been in business for 50 years selling their product to retailers like you. So they know what they're doing, and they generally do a good job of the fulfillment side of things. Sometimes you do have problems though, and that is one of the downsides of the business model. But like I said, once you're making some money, if that's something you're really interested in that sort of customer experience and brand building side of things, you can start introducing your own products to the market, which you warehouse, and you've got an existing customer base to do that with. You don't have to start from scratch. This is the great thing about dropshipping that not a lot of people realize when they think about it. It's a great way to learn about your target market, right? While making money, so that when it's time for you to launch your product, you already have 1,000 customers on your list that you can go straight to and sell it without having to invest all this money in product development before you've even sold one, or before you even know if it's going to work.
A wonderful past guest, and I know she still listens. Laura Klein. She has a business called Snotty Noses, and she was. I don't know whether she was drop shipping or just licensing out of the US a product called the battery-powered snot sucker, which was for newborns who had cold. You stick it up their nose and it sucks out the snot. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyone who's feeling a bit crazy. But she did start experiencing problems with the manufacturer and ended up going to Taiwan and finding someone to manufacture her very own battery-powered snot sucker, and she's never looked back. In fact, I did a second interview with her. I'll put a link in the show notes because it's really quite interesting how she's, you get that confidence and you go, okay, I can get my own product now, which would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've had a long-time student client of mine, amazing woman who she was selling products for children on her website, and she was drop shipping these teepees that kids, like little teepees that kids play in their bedroom or something like that. And she was drop shipping them, and one day she got an order from a charity for like over $100,000 worth of these things that they were going to give out to kids, right? Now, her supplier here in Australia, and she's Australian, couldn't fulfill that. They were like, no, that's too many. I can't do that. So, yeah, she went straight over to China and sourced basically the same product, got it manufactured, got it shipped over, and then that just became part of her ongoing product lineup. She
did that after getting the order.
Yeah. Luckily, they had a lead time on the order, right? So she could say, well, you need to give us, 2 months to get that to you. And they were like, yeah, no worries. We don't need it till, and business to business sales are often like that, right? They don't need it immediately. They're thinking ahead. But that was her avenue into, and so she since then she's gone and just created more of her own products, and that was sort of her entry into doing that.
I suppose it's like anything. You do it once. You go like, geez, that was actually a lot easier than I thought. So the second time becomes a whole lot easier. Johnny, a great conversation, mate. I haven't finished yet. Very interesting. I always find it really interesting to identify and understand new revenue streams, new ways of doing business. Plus, mate, again, having gone through your course, this stuff applies to anyone who owns a business. You don't have to be a drop shipper. Some of the learnings that you're sharing. Let's talk team, because again, some people are going to be going, I'm going to start a drop shipping business, but I don't have the dough to, employ customer service and SEO and graphic designers and all these different experts. What does, and I guess, if we start a drop shipping business tomorrow, you're going to be doing it all. At some point, you'd be wanting to systematize that, document the way you've gone about it. Who do you need on the team in order to have a successful business that's not going to be onerous? Because one of the reasons we're doing this is because we want to spend more time with the kids or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. That's why I came to it. And you're absolutely right. If you're not careful with this and you have a business that's growing, it's going to turn into what feels like a job, right? You're going to be a slave to it, right? And yeah, for most people who come to this, that's absolutely what they're trying to escape. So you need, the first thing I get people to, the first hire for people is somebody to handle customer service, right? So literally for the business owner doing customer service, while it's great for you to serve your customer, it's the most disruptive thing to your day, right? Because you can't predict when the phone's going to ring. So if you're focusing on the big tasks that are going to grow your business and you need focus, you don't want to have to break your focus every 5 minutes to answer the phone, right? So customer service is the first thing. You're going to get somebody to be the first point of contact on the phone, the email, and your online chat. After that, you're going to get somebody who can help you just with the sort of order fulfillment side of things, like sending orders off to suppliers, communicating with customers about orders. And then you'll get somebody to help you with updating your website, like uploading products, changing products as they change over time, putting new suppliers on your website, all of that sort of thing. So that's probably the core of your team. Right.
Are any of those people full-timers, or probably you're starting off again with contractors by the hour? Are they generally overseas?
They could be either, but obviously from a cost perspective, it's going to be easier to manage if they are overseas. So personally, I've always used people from the Philippines myself because it aligns very well with Australian time zones, obviously. But my business partner, Ben, who's in the US, he much prefers to work with local staff in the US. And so that's the way that he goes. So you can do either. In the beginning, though, that's not all full-time work, no. Customer service is going to be the first one that becomes full-time for you. But those other ones, it's just work that can be batched up and done maybe for a few hours, 1 hour or 2 hours a day, or a few hours a week, or even in some cases, a monthly thing. So it doesn't need to all be full-time. So your team's hours will grow with your business. So you start making more revenue, more profit, you can start to employ more people.
Johnny, I'd love those listening to add a new revenue stream to their business or just to start a new business. Dropshipbreakthrough.com/Timbo is where they will find your course. Don't go too hard, mate. Keep it. Don't sound like some dropshipping guru, but just a little bit about the course. What experience do people need? What kind of support do they get if they were to join? Is there a guarantee if they don't enjoy it? Just give us that sort of 1 minute because I think it's fantastic.
Yep. So the course teaches somebody with zero online experience, which is what I had when I started. I remember what that was like. Teaches you how, from scratch, how to build, grow, launch, and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business. And we give you everything you need to grow that business up to the 8 figures in annual revenue mark, which is what we've done. And so everything eight figures, so $10 million a year in revenue plus, we've done that. And everything that we've learnt from doing that and how we did that and how other people do that is in the program. So it's comprehensive. We don't leave anything out. There's 7 modules in the build and launch your business section. In the grow section of our program, there's another 12 modules, I think at the time I'm speaking, of marketing. So like Google Ads, conversion rate optimization, SEO, email marketing, retargeting. We teach all of that stuff, once again, from scratch. So if you've never done SEO before and you're sitting there going, oh, but I don't know how to do SEO, John, we start you from not knowing anything to what would be considered an advanced level of knowledge in that topic. The same with all of those things. So there's over 300 videos in the program. It's very large, but it's designed.
I said 68.
That's just in the first section.
It is.
You're just looking at the first section.
I'm looking at it now.
The growing your business side is much bigger. Because there's
I would encourage people not to feel overwhelmed because each one of the videos are relatively short and tackle just one particular task or issue.
Yeah, and you don't watch all of that stuff before you launch your business. This is a course that is supposed to grow, that follows you as you grow your business. So you could be implementing stuff in there for literally years, right, as your business grows. So everything's in there, as well as that with the special offer that we're offering here at dropshipbreakthrough.com/Timbo, you get free 6 months access to our elite membership bundle. So what that gets you access to is our group coaching program. So every week of the year, Ben and I run group coaching calls with our students. Every week, there's multiple calls where we're personally on a call, and you don't get this in many courses, I'll tell you that, with the person who actually teaches the course, where we're on the phone on Zoom calls with our students. They're recorded calls, which you also get access to all the recordings, answering questions, providing advice, all that sort of stuff to help people grow their business as they go through the course. You get access to our Slack workspace. Once again, that me and Ben are in every day answering people's questions. That's sort of our priority line of support. And you also get access to, we have a private podcast, which is for our members only. So we have a public podcast, which is called the Dropship Podcast. Plug.
Go, mate, go.
Which is growing very nicely. And if you want a lot of free information on how to do dropshipping, just listen to that podcast. We give it all away on the podcast for free, right? You can learn a lot just there.
Thank you for that awesome offer, John. It's so appreciated. What I'm particularly excited about, and you and I have been talking now for about 3 or 4 months, and I had to cancel you a couple of times to do the interview. In that time, the world's changed. The world continues to change. And, right now, interest rates went up again yesterday. People are talking about the cost of gas, the cost of petrol, it is. Things are getting bloody expensive. And we need to think smarter about how we're going to go about running our lives, earning money, and not panic. There's no need to panic because I reckon this internet thing is here to stay. It seems to be going okay so far. And there are great opportunities, and drop shipping is one of them. And I just, I really hope, I'd love nothing more than in 6 months' time that I'm playing a few voicemail messages from listeners, 0480015150, saying, Timbo, that Johnny Warren bloke, he's made me a bloody, maybe not a millionaire, but I'm paying the mortgage now, just through my drop shipping business. I just love that. John, thanks, brother. Anything left to say? I'm sure there's plenty more. That's a really bad question, actually. I just break the interviewer's guidebook by saying, is there anything else you would like to say? I'll retract that question.
No. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Tim. I can tell that you've done this a few times before.
You're about episode 600 and something, brother. Yeah. So
I think you've got this down pat. I think that's covered a lot of great stuff. Yeah, literally. Good man. As I say, if your listener doesn't feel like they've still got some questions about dropshipping, absolutely just get in touch with us. But listen to our podcast. Absolutely.
That's really well. Listen to the podcast. I mean, I was going to say, if we get enough interest, we could even run a webinar. But honestly, between this podcast, your podcast, and the course, there's so much information out there. Johnny Warren, Dropship Breakthrough, thru.com/Timbo. Love your work, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Wow. There you go, team. Dropshipping expert John Warren. I'm pretty excited about that whole prospect of a dropshipping business. You? I mean, I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to do it, but I've certainly had a good look at his course. And it's bloody well presented with some really great information. Whether you do a dropshipping business or not, there's just some great information about how to build traffic, how to build a business, how to grow a brand, how to understand your market, all that kind of stuff. So seriously, if you are looking for a way to make some extra coin, or maybe you just love a less demanding business, check out dropshipbreakthrough.com/Timbo. That's THRU. And he's even done a short 2-minute video explaining the exclusive offer. Like I said, I've worked my way through the majority of the course. It's red hot. You'll also find a link over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/606.
Hey, Timbo, it's Monty here from Mojo Candle Co. So we're a sustainable candle company. I'm just sort of calling to say that I love your podcast, the way you interview and find all the insights and from yourself and all the small business owners very inspiring. So a little bit about our company. So Mojo Candle Co., we're based down in the Southern Highlands, and we collect wine bottles and beer bottles from all the wineries and restaurants around us. About 1,500 a week at this stage. And what we do with these bottles is we remove the labels, cut them, polish them and clean them so they end up being a vessel, and then they're then used to make candles. So we make a eco sort of luxe candle. So we've got about 280 stockists around Australia, been growing really well. We're just sort of looking at now venturing out overseas. We're really proud of the fact that we collect so many wine and beer bottles and upcycle them and turn them into something beautiful rather than them just going to waste. A lot of the glass in Australia isn't actually recycled. It's only about 30%. So most of it's going to landfill. So every company in Australia that can reuse and upcycle is definitely a great thing. All right. Thanks, Timbo. Cheers.
Hey, Monty, thank you so much, brother, for taking the time to call the Small Business Big Marketing Hotline. Business owners like you are the reason I've been doing this podcast for 13 years. Hearing the excitement in your voice as your business grows, hearing the excitement as you talk about what this podcast has done for your business. I'm just honoured, brother. Celebrate the peaks, ride the troughs, surround yourself with like-minded individuals. You are going to make a beautiful business, Monty. Well, you have already. It's going to be beautifuler as you proceed down the path creating it. Well done, man. Everyone else, be like Monty. Call me 0480 015 150 and let me know how business is going for you. What do you love about it? What frustrates you? Just be honest. You know, running a business ain't all chocolates. It's often boiled lollies. I get that. 0480 015 150. Got some great guests coming your way in the coming weeks. We meet the founder of Relief, one of Australia's largest medicinal marijuana clinics. In fact, it might be the largest. And a lady who started her 7-figure workplace uniform business by cold calling 100 companies every day for a year before making her first sale. If you enjoyed today's ep, be sure to hit the subscribe button on your favourite podcast app, because there you will find 605 more chats with successful business owners. If you are ready to create some helpful marketing, too late to grab a copy of my book. It's sold out. But I will keep talking about the principle and the concept in future episodes for sure. This show is stitched together by editor extraordinaire Alex Amster. The music bed written, sung and produced by our very own Lockie Doley. Thank you so much to you for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.